You're watching ABC4 Utah. Midday.
Thanks for staying with us. Utah Senior Senator Orrin Hatch is in Utah today, and he's joining us now here in studio to talk a little bit about what he is working on in Washington. Great to see you today.
Nice to see you, Glenn.
Let's go ahead and start with what has become a very big controversy over the last couple of weeks. We're talking Planned Parenthood, a series of videos coming out. What are your thoughts? You've been very vocal on this one.
Well, I thought it was horrible what they were doing, you know, in exchanging body parts and selling them. That should not happen. These are the same people who claim that there's no life in existence until the baby is born, and here they're selling human body parts and admitting that they're human body parts. You know, Planned Parenthood does some very good work in helping women with health care issues and so forth, but we've got all kinds of community health centers that do exactly the same thing. But what they do is about 330,000 abortions a year, and if they're selling body parts from aborted infants, in other words, old enough to have body parts or old enough to have these type of situations, I mean, it's just something that shouldn't happen.
They have come out and defended that as legitimate research.
Oh, yeah.
That's being done
how
do
you defend that?
Well, talk to me about that. What do you think about that?
How do you defend that? I mean, I don't see any way in the world you can defend it, because at the one hand, they say that's really not a life until born, and on the other hand, they acknowledge that these are human tissues and human organs, and it just seems horrible to me. Anybody who looks at that has got to say, what's wrong with these people?
So what should be done? Because you're troubled by this, but you also do point out the good work that they do. So where do we go from here?
Well, the federal government should not fund this type of activity. We should not be paying for abortions. Now, they claim that...
Are you saying Planned Parenthood in full, or just
keep in mind
this part of it?
The funds that Planned Parenthood has, they're fungible. And so it's hard to say that they're not using them for abortion, but the statute says they can't use them for abortion. And frankly, Planned Parenthood should get out of the abortion business. The problem is they're the principal aborters in America.
Let's go ahead and move on to another big issue, the Iran nuclear deal. I've talked to you in the past on this one, and you're not a big fan of it either. There's going to be a resolution coming up next month, once you get back into Congress, to disapprove of that. So what are your thoughts at this point?
Well, I suspect it will be disapproved, but then that will be vetoed, and then I suspect that the president will get enough Democrats to put it through. But every time you turn around, there's another aspect of that agreement or set of agreements that will cause anybody concern.
So what are some of your big concerns with it?
Well, all kinds of concerns. First of all, they just found out that you know, the Atomic Energy Commission is supposed to go in there and verify all these things. Well, they're allowing in the principal site the Iranians to verify them themselves. Well, that doesn't work. I mean, the whole purpose is to be on top of this. On the other hand, to have Iran on a path towards a nuclear weapon means that almost everybody with wealth in the Middle East is going to have to find nuclear weapons. And there's a great place to buy them from, and that's Pakistan. So it means that almost everybody's going to be armed with nuclear weapons in the Middle East. Makes you want to think that maybe the Bible's true. I know it's true, but the Bible's talking about the next problem is going to be death by fire, and it just makes you wonder if we're not coming pretty close to the end of this world. But to make a long story short, we should never allow Iran to have nuclear weapons, and to just put a 10-year span on it or 15-year span on it, while at the same time trusting people who can't be trusted, who have a reputation of not being trusted, I think is a tremendous error and tremendous mistake. But this administration blithely goes into these things like they know what they're doing, and they don't know what they're doing.
Let's move on to presidential politics.
Sure.
I've never seen anything like this in my life. You came out recently endorsing Jeb Bush, but this whole skeptical with Donald Trump, it's almost as if, you know, reality television meets the the race for the White House. What's your take on it?
Well, I know every one of them, including Donald Trump, and what he's doing is hitting the nerves of everybody in this country.
He is. So is there something the other candidates can learn from that?
Well, they can, but on the other hand, you want some degree of sophistication in whoever's going to be president, whoever's going to be our standard bearer. That's one reason why I'm for Jeb Bush. Jeb is a very sophisticated former governor of Florida, who ran that state for 8 years, had a balanced budget every one of those 8 years, created 1.3 million jobs, cut $19 billion in costs, and in the end brought it into a AAA bond rating, the first time Florida had ever had a AAA bond rating. By any measure, the man is a great leader, and he had to deal with a lot of foreign policy problems down there because of Cuba and, of course, other areas. That's why I'm for him. I know every one of them. I like every one of them. I think there's some amazing talent. It's one of the best stable of presidential candidates I've ever seen. But I think that the only problem with Jeb Bush is his last name. That's what people
yeah, is there an
hold against
appetite
him.
for another Bush, potentially Clinton
I think so.
race?
I think so when you think about it. His father was a great man, is a great man. I love the guy. He's a wonderful man. He was a great president, but he was very soft on some things, and I think Jeb will be tougher on some things. George W. Bush, good man, no question about it. When all of the classified materials are released 30 years from now, people will be saying we misjudged him. In the case of Jeb has everything it takes to be the President of the United States. And there are a number of others who you just have to give consideration to as well. But I don't think Donald Trump is necessarily one of them, although he's running a campaign that
the latest polls
is causing a
put
lot
him
of problems.
ahead. Yeah, the latest polls put him ahead of Jeb in his own state of Florida today.
Well, I think that's going to happen because he's hitting the nerves of people. But when people
Is that going to fade over time, though?
Yeah, when they have to go to the ballot box, they're going to think it through and say, do I really want a fellow like this running the country, who will be an easy mark for the Democrats compared to, say, a Jeb Bush.
Okay. Senator Orrin Hatch, always great to have you. Thanks so much for your time.
Nice to be with you.
All right.